Good morning. Today's Monday, May 6, 2024. My series of videos, Best Pitcher for Individual Year. Winning pitching categories. 1905. Who was the best pitcher? Who won the most pitching categories? I've got 9 of them. Most wins, most innings, most strikeouts, shutouts. Games started, complete games. Earned run average, winning percentage, and saves. 9 pitching categories. For 1905, who won the most pitching categories? I found 2 guys. Christy Mathewson, Hall of Fame. And Irv Young. Both had 3 pitching categories, 1905. I'm going to give it to both of them. I know Christy Mathewson, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's a much better pitcher than Irv Young. But for that year, I'm going to give it to both of them because that's my criteria. How many pitching categories do you win for the year? Not for the whole career, just the individual year. 1905, interesting year. Christy Mathewson, 3 categories. 31 wins, most. 8 shutouts. And a 1.27 ERA. Excellent. 3 categories. Irv Young, IRV. What kind of a name is that? Irv? He won 3 categories. Most innings, 378. Game started 42 and he completes 41. 3 categories. Let's look at both of these guys. Let's start with Irv Young because never heard of the guy, have you? He's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame because he only pitched 6 years. But in 1905, he had a record of 20-21. Starts 42 games and finishes 41 of them and has a 2.90 ERA. But the key for him that year was he had the most innings of any pitcher in the league, including National American League, because the American League now is in existence. Remember 1901 American League gets going? Ban Johnson, the president. So we've got both leagues now, and that's what I'm doing. I'm combining both leagues, finding out which pitcher excelled in that year, looking at all of them. Excuse me. So he's got the 3 categories: the innings, the game started, and the complete games. But he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame because his career record, 63 wins, 95 losses, and he only pitches 6 years. So he's not relevant as far as being one of the greats of the game. He's just for that 1 year in 1905, led everybody in innings, games started, and complete games. Let's go to Christy Mathewson. Now, this guy is deservedly in the Baseball Hall of Fame. 17-year career, listen to this, 373 wins in 17 years. If he pitches another 3 years and has a 20-year career, he would have had over 400 victories. 188 losses. You know why he had that many losses? Because he had 435 complete games. He started 552 of them and completes 435. 1905, well, he came up in the year 1900. New York Giants stayed with him the whole career until the last year. Came up as a 19-year-old. Pitched about 6 games, just getting his feet wet. 1901, he wins 20 games at he's 20 years old. Then he wins 14. Listen to this. 30, 33, 31, 22, 24, 37, 25, 27, 26, 23, 25, 24. And then toward the end of his career, just a couple games here and there. Basically, let's see. His last 2 years, he won 16 games in his last 2 years. So what's that? Here, let's do some little math here. His last 2 years, 16 victories. So we can say that in 15 years, he won 357 games. Actually, 14 years. Because the first year doesn't count. He didn't win any games. 14-year period from 1901 to 1914. 15-year period right there. He won 353 games. He was on pace for 400, maybe 450, if he pitches 20 or 22 years like Cy Young and Walter Johnson. Cy Young stuck in the game and pitched 22 years, got 511 victories. Walter Johnson, I believe, 21 years, 417 victories. Christy Mathewson, 15 years. I'd say 14 and a half years, right in there. 353 victories. Ends up with 373 for his career. You want to hear something? His career ERA, 2.13. Career. 4,788 innings pitched. And he has 2,500 strikeouts career. He won 30 games. Christy Mathewson, listen to this. 4 times over 30. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 20-win seasons. 4 30-win seasons, 8 20-win seasons. That's 12 seasons, over 20 victories. And that's how he compiles 373 victories in his career. His first 3 years, 1900, he starts. No victories. Okay, so doesn't count. 1901, 20 victories. Okay. 1902 was really the only year that he did not have a 20-win season. He had 14 victories in 1902. But then he goes on and just 30-win seasons, 20-win seasons, and then toward the end of his career, he had 8 seasons. In 1915, he had 8 victories. And then in 1916, he had 4. So that's 12 victories. This guy was a winning pitcher, and he deserves the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, it's sad. Christy Mathewson died at age 45. I don't know if you've heard the story. He went into World War I during that time. Something to do with poison gas. I believe he got affected. And as a result, he died young at 45. Feel sorry. We can say that Christy Mathewson is probably in the top 5 greatest pitchers of all time. Would you agree with that? Either that or the top 10 greatest pitchers of all time. To me, I put him in the top 5. Who are my top 5 greatest pitchers of all time? Got to go with Walter Johnson because of the 417 victories and over 3,500 strikeouts. I put him number 1. Who would I put number 2? Greatest pitcher of all time? It's a debate. I would have to say guys are very close to each other. As far as number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, you gotta go with maybe Christy Mathewson would be number 2 on my list because of the 353 victories in about 14, 15 years. You gotta put Bud Calvin in there. You gotta put Nolan Ryan in there. You gotta put Pete Alexander in there. You gotta put Sandy Koufax in there. How about Lefty Grove? How about Carl Hubble? To me, number 1 is Walter Johnson, but as far as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they could be interchangeable. I'd have to look at it more. I think I did a video on that as my top 5 greatest pitchers of all time. I wrote a book too. Can't remember who I put number 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know Christy Mathewson is in there. Cy Young, forgot about him, 511 victories. The only problem I have with Cy Young is he has over 300 defeats, losses. I don't like that. 300 losses? Sandy Koufax, I can't put him number 1 because he just had a short career, 12 years. Nolan Ryan, I can't put him number 1. Even though he has 7 no-hitters, he has over 5,000 strikeouts. Problem I have with Nolan Ryan, he has too many losses and too many walks. I think he's number 1 in walks. He's got a lot of losses, like 200. I'm gonna find out how many Nolan Ryan. Let's see. Nolan Ryan. Yeah, 292 losses. He's got 324 victories. I like that. I like the strikeouts. I like the 7 no-hitters. And he was hard to hit. But his control was a little wild. You want to hear something? Nolan Ryan in his career had 2,795 walks, base on balls. I think that's number 1. He's number 1 in strikeouts, number 1 in no-hitters. He's got 5,386 innings. Ooh. I think I'll put Christy Mathewson number 2. Who would I put number 3? As far as greatest pitchers of all time. All right, here's where I gotta do. I gotta go to most wins. Most wins by a pitcher. Let's see. I'm going to Baseball Reference. Most victories. I think that's what you need to do. Put most victories. Pitching. Baseball. Most victories. Pitching. There it is. I got it. Let's see. I go to Baseball Reference. Career. Here's how you do it. Career records and leaders for wins in baseball. All right, we know Cy Young has the most wins, 511, but he's got too many losses, so he's not number 3. All right, here. Walter Johnson's number 1. That's definite. That's in my book. Number 2, I'm going to put Christy Mathewson, as far as my list. Greatest pitchers of all time. Number 3, got Pete Alexander. Has 373 wins. He's got 208 losses. Mathewson has 188, so they're both about the same. Alexander has less strikeouts than Mathewson. Will I put him number 3? I don't know. Bud Calvin was a pretty good pitcher. 365 victories. He was in the 1870s. No, he was the 1880s and 1890s. Problem with Bud Calvin also, 310 losses. Too many. Not enough strikeouts, 1,800. How about Warren Spahn? Should I put him number 3? 363 victories, most by a left-hander. Too many losses, 245 losses. 2,500 strikeouts. I don't know if you can put him there. Kid Nichols. 362 victories. You know what? He did that in a short period of time, 15 years. 362 wins. Whew. 200 losses. Not enough strikeouts, 1,800. Boy, I'm having a hard time picking number 3. 1 is Johnson, 2 is Mathewson. Who's number 3 on my list? Greg Maddux, 355 wins. 227 losses. What I like about Maddox, though, 3,300 strikeouts. Knew how to strike out, guys. 3.16 ERA. I don't know. Clemens, not in the Hall of Fame, 354 victories. Tim Keefe, 14-year career, 342 wins, but he's got too many losses, 225. Steve Carlton, 329 victories, 244 losses. John Clarkson, 328 victories, 178 losses. John Clarkson, 12 years, 328 victories. You say the eras make a difference, right? Was it easier back then? I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. But John Clarkson in 12 years won 328 victories. Got Eddie Plank, 17-year career, 326 victories. Don Sutton, 324, 250 losses. You got to look at the losses. How about Charlie Radburn, 310 victories, 194 losses, 4,000 innings. Who are my top 5? I'm having a hard time. See, with Walter Johnson, the reason why I have him number 1, 417 victories. He had a lot of losses, 279. But the key to him was 2.17 ERA. Played for a last-place team, the Washington Senators. They did win the World Series one year. A lot of times they were last. And the key to Johnson is 3,500 strikeouts in that era. And the other factor with Johnson, 110 shutouts. So you got to put him number 1. Christy Mathewson is number 2. For me, who's number 3? I'll have to go with Pete Alexander, 373 wins. That's pretty good. 4. I like Warren Spahn, 363 victories. Pretty good. He was a good hitter, too. I think he hit a lot of homers. As a pitcher, he hit home runs himself. I like that. And number 5, you could go... You know who was an interesting guy? Randy Johnson. 303 victories, 166 losses. Couldn't beat that guy. I don't know. He could be in my top 5, Randy Johnson. But there's another guy, too, I got to deal with. Lefty Grove. 300 victories, 141 losses. See? More victory, or 2-to-1 ratio of victories to losses for Lefty Grove. You know, now thinking about it, this guy was dominant. 17-year career. See, his ERA was 3.06. If he's 2-to-1 victories to losses, yet the ERA is 3. Where Mathewson is in the 2s, so was Johnson. Career ERAs. Another guy you got to look at as far as greatest, Sandy Koufax. I mean, where is he on the list? Sandy Koufax. How many victories did he have? I should know this question. How many career victories does Sandy Koufax have? Boy, I gotta look him up. Let me look him up. I should know that. Sandy Koufax. Career victories, 165. See, 12-year career, 87 losses. So he's a 2-to-1 victory to ratio. What's interesting about Koufax, 2.76 ERA. He had 2,300 strikeouts in 12 years. He's on pace for 4,000 strikeouts if he had a 20-year career. So he was very dominant, but I can't put him in my top 5 because of the 12-year career. Sorry, Sandy. All right, I'm going to give it to you. Greatest pitchers of all time. Ken Otterzone's top 5. Walter Johnson, number 1. Christy Mathewson, number 2. Number 3. Pete Alexander. Number 4. Warren Spahn. And number 5. Lefty Grove. Then I'll put Nolan Ryan in there. I'll put Randy Johnson. As far as my top 10, I'll put Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson. I'll put Koufax in there. I'll put, I guess you can put Cy Young's 511 wins. He's in there. Maybe 8 or 9. It's too many losses. Greg Maddux, you got to put him in there. 33,000 strikeouts along with 355 wins. Maybe John Clarkson, put him in there. Charlie Radburn has to be considered. Randy Johnson, got to consider him. Eddie Plank, Earl Wynn, I don't know. That's a tough list as far as greatest pitchers of all time. Who would you want to face? Game 7, bases loaded, 2 outs. Which pitcher would you dread facing the most? To me, it would be either Walter Johnson or Nolan Ryan because of their power. So does that put them in the greatest of all time as far as you fear the most? Probably Randy Johnson I would fear too. You may not fear Warren Spahn and Pete Alexander, even though Alexander was pretty clutch. Interesting debate, right? All right, we're done with 1905. I don't know how 1905 steered me into a debate on the greatest pitchers of all time because I was considering Christy Mathewson. That's where it started. I did a video on it. I did my top 10 greatest pitchers of all time. I'll talk about that more as we talk about pitching throughout these videos. We'll get into that debate. You really have to analyze it. You have to look at wins, losses. You have to consider the strikeouts, the shutouts, the ERA, and the winning percentage. All that, you got to figure it out. And then you can have the honest debate on the greatest pitchers of all time. All right, 1905, Christy Mathewson and Irv Young. I'm giving it to them. We're done with that. Our next video will be 1906. We'll see who wins it. Thanks for your patience. I'm out.